Welcome everyone, today I have a new Diablo guide on Sorceress for Season 5. Now over here, this is a tier 101 Sorceress demonstration of the day 1 replay of a Season 5 clear. And here we're learning from a streamer called Mekuna, which I introduced to him after the demonstration of this particular replay. Now looking through the gameplay, this is an insanely powerful build that some of my friends has recommended after watching his stream. And yes, a lot of us are playing Sorceress, but unfortunately I started with Barbarian for this particular season. And I am really regretting playing Barbarian after seeing this particular gameplay. So you can see, just from me talking for 30 seconds, he already filled up half of his bar for the clear through, tier 101. So this particular build is insanely fast, a lot of damage, very survivable, and it clears the map like no tomorrow. And literally takes him less than 2 minutes to clear through the entire dungeon, and this is a very powerful Season 5 Sorceress build. Now what's happening is he's stacking critical rate, critical damage, and allowing the lightning spears to proc multiple times, and proccing even more summons and also triggers of conjunction using the Frozen Orb. He is extremely defensive with both of the flame and also ice barriers, and this allows him to mow through the entire game very quickly. So you can see, it took about 1 minute and 30 seconds to clear to the boss. And let's over here have a look at the fight against the boss. So you might have noticed that he is shooting out artillery like summons. This is because of the uber unique from the terror's chest, and we'll go through the gears very soon. So the build has a lot of stagger and also triggers, which allows him to stun the boss rapidly. And the build has tons of additional AoE and also single target damage. As you can see, projectiles getting summoned, conjured, and there's a lot of lightning and also force blade that is against the boss. So the entire fight, guys, took about 2 to 3 minutes, and this is because he delayed the stream a little bit. Now skipping a little bit over against the Uber boss with Doriel. So this is a level 200 Uber Doriel boss, and over here he's carrying some of his viewers and a lot of friends. So this is pretty much a single carry or 2-person carry against Uber Doriel. And you can see this particular Sorceress is extremely tanky, great for boss lane, and also does a lot of damage AoE. Yes, I am really thinking I should play Sorceress. My Bash Barbarian for this season is not going anywhere. I'll make a video about Bash Barbarian very soon if you guys want to have a look at Barbarians, but a lot of my friends are re-rolling for the Sorceress because of this build. Now I do want to mention, one of the reasons you want to do Uber bosses is that this build is very heavily gear dependent. It will require 2 of the Uber uniques with the Harlequin's Crest and also with the chest of the Teros Might. And over here, the boss is dead. So this is a very powerful build that I really wanted to share with you guys. And let's jump over to the build for the items and also for the stats. Now before we go through the details of this particular build, I would like to say a big thank you and also credits for the streamer Mekuna over here, who has been demonstrating this build on the day 1 for Season 5. Now Mekuna does have a YouTube channel should you want to follow him for some of the top tier endgame sources guide. And here my particular build guide is following from what he planned. Because he is pretty much in the endgame with 2 of the Uber uniques, I have also made another version without Uber uniques. It will be a little weaker, and I don't recommend you guys investing too much with Masterworks for those 2 pieces. Once you have the Uber unique, you come over to the Uber unique version, and then you'll be slaying through lots of monsters and flying through Season 5. So coming over to a builder's guide. This build is actually focusing on a new aspect that is crafted onto the 2-handed weapon called the Splinter Energy. This allows critical hits with lightning spear to act for additional damage onto 5 other targets, and this damage is actually scaling with your critical strike bonus. And this is great. The entire focus of this build is building for more critical rate and also more critical strike damage whenever you can to be crafted onto the gears. Together with the usage of a lot of Uber uniques and also unique items, this build is going to be very powerful as you craft those gears and also getting the right mastercraft. So briefly going through the gears, we're using the Harlequin's Quest and also Teros Might. Both of those items are both defensive with damage reduction and offensive with cooldown reductions and also with additional ways of dealing damage to enemies. The additional maximum cap to all resistance is also really good on Teros Might. Even the movement speed is great because your unique boots will allow you to have more critical chance as you gain more movement speed. Now in terms of the stats of the gears, I'll have those available for you guys with the highlight of which of the gears you want to be master crafting. Now there are also additional notes from To Mekuna about which of the master craft you should be focusing on those particular gears. So briefly coming over to the set of items that should you not have the uber uniques. As for the helmet, I'm going with additional damage reduction with ice armor, and also as with the chest, I'm going with additional damage reduction by casting conjuring skills. Now those are very basic stats, and those are just temporary until you get your uber uniques. And once you do, guys, you focus on crafting those on the right mastercraft, and this should be very, very powerful. Now briefly going through the rest of the unique items you'll be using. We have the Fist of Fit for the gloves. We have Turbell's Well over here to provide us with more damage as you become unstoppable. Over here with the boots, we'll be gaining additional critical chance with your movement speed. As for the ring over here, you'll be casting different elements, and this allows you to have even more bonus damage. We're only using 3 legendary items that is crafted with different aspects. A 2-handed weapon will be used over here to allow us to have a 2-hand staff with aspects of splinter energy. Now this is going to be the core of the build, and this is of course crafted on the 2-handed weapon. Over here, we do want to get as much critical strike damage as we can crafted on the weapon. Now in terms of the amulet, we're going with an aspect that allow us to be casting force orbs which conjures random conjunctions, which will give us more lightning spears and also more ice blades automatically casted from the frozen orbs. And this is a massive automatic trigger with lucky hits as well. And over here we do have the aspects of frozen orb, which allows force orbs to explode additional times, which then comes back to allow more chance of summoning those conjunctions and then doing more damage. Now briefly going through the skill trees of the Sorceress build. Now I have to be honest with you guys, I'm not a Sorceress expert. So here we'll go through some of the major focus of the skills on the skill bar. We'll be having Flame Shield and also Teleport, which allows us to have great mobility and also survivability together with Ice Armor. We'll be going with 1 point into Ice Blades and also Lightning Spears, which can be automatically casted by casting the Frozen Orbs, and this triggers multiple times. We'll be benefiting from a lot of passives that increase damage against burning enemies, against frozen and also chilled enemies. Together against shocked enemies, we'll be having more critical strike chance and also more damage. We'll be auto-casting a lot of random core and also conjunction spells, which in return will allow us to be random casting even more spells. So having the unstable current for the ultimate will allow us to have the highest damage. Finally, as we shock enemies with a core passive, we'll be having reduction to cooldowns, and this gives us more cooldown reduction, which comes back to over here to give us more defensive capacities with damage reduction and also lower cooldowns, gaining barriers using those defensive spells over here. Now briefly going through the paragons and also choices of glyphs. Mekuna over here have a massive 8 different glyphs that will be used. So we have the control glyph for additional shield and also control enemies bonus damage. We have tactician glyph, which give us additional damage after casting defensive spells. We have the elementalist glyphs to give us more non-physical damage bonus. And here we have the charge glyph for additional damage with crackling energy, and this also gives us even more damage. The destruction glyph is going to be essential to give us more critical strike damage, that our damage source is actually scaled multiple times on this. The flame feeder glyph will give us additional damage against burning enemies, and the exploit glyph will make enemies vulnerable for additional vulnerability damage. And finally, the conjure glyph will give us additional damage with conjure spells, and this also increases the duration for even more damage. Now going through the game replays and also skill rotations, right away you can see you want to be casting a defensive spell, so you'll be getting barriers. You can be blinking around super fast, automatically and also continuously to be casting your main skills, and also your ice orbs will allow you to summon more spells. And the skills are very simple. This is because you're auto-casting multiple spells and then in return casting more spells. Blinking around, casting your frost orbs will enable you to do even more damage. Together with abilities to reduce your cooldowns and to burst everything in front of you, this is actually very incredible build that makes you want to play Sorceress more. Now during this time, should you want to be more defensive, you can cast your Flame Shield for more defensive capacities. Aim to try to have your Ice Barrier activated for additional defensive spells and also for more defensive capacities. And similarly, you can be casting Flame Shield to become invulnerable and also have less damage taken. Now, one of the highlights of this particular build is that you're pretty much staying on top of maximum HP most of the time. And this allows you to rotate your defensive spells while casting your burst ultimate and then casting a lot of frozen orbs to summon more things on the field which stagger the boss very quickly. You can see that he's not using his Flame Shield unless the barrier is broken and he has to become defensive. If your gears and also your items is not available or if it's not strong enough, you should be casting your Flame Shield to become defensive and also to dodge the boss's one-shot mechanics in the higher levels. And this should be pretty much it. And make sure you guys follow Mekuna for more update on this build, and also I'll be looking into more guides for different top meta builds on the Sorceress, on the Barbarians, and also on different classes. Now before we finish, if you guys have noticed, I have started posting Diablo and also action RPG videos on my second YouTube channel with Majestic Life. This is because I want to spread out the channels and also to focus one category of games on each of the channels. So for the previous channel, because I'm doing Genshin Impact and also Zenless Zone Zero, we'll focus that on the Gacha channel. And on the second channel, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you follow on this channel for the latest action RPG for Path of Exile 2, for Last Epoch, and also for Diablo 4, and all those related games.